Hello and welcome to the Mystic Cast, where you join Jack Stafford and Deborah Littleboy, members of the Aetherius Society, the cosmic religion for the Aquarian Age, as we break down the barriers between religion, science, metaphysics, philosophy, and mysticism, all of which are really only aspects of the self-same quest for truth. Please note that this is an independent program, not produced or fact-checked by the Aetherius Society. Today, our guest is Jack Fox Williams. Hello, Jack.
Hello, it's good to be here.
You're quite an elusive character, difficult to get hold of.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of social media and all of that stuff, so I tend to remain in the shadows. So yeah, I just let my writing speak for itself, and if people find it, I hope it's valuable. Yeah,
Yeah, I know you from New Dawn magazine.
mm.
You've,
Yeah, that's the main publication I work with. That they're absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it's been a joy working with them.
how
Yeah.
did you get hold of them?
I wrote a article about 4 years ago now on the relationship between science and the occult. So I was looking at figures like Isaac Newton, Nicholas Tesla, people like that, and how they were very much immersed in mysticism and esotericism. And yeah, they were just really enthusiastic about it, and they asked me to do more. And eventually, I was doing kind of paid writing for them, and yeah, they've just given me the kind of freedom to write what I want to write. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had front page features and huge articles in there. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's been great. Yeah.
remember the one about Isaac Newton? Yeah, that was really surprising that he was because he's held up as a bastion of the materialistic world, and
Yeah.
to find out that that was just the beginning of his career, and then
Yeah.
he was a very spiritual man, very religious, and he did a lot more than just that.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. He was very much immersed in biblical prophecy, alchemy, numerology. But kind of when you think about what he was doing, which was ultimately trying to understand the eternal principles of nature, how the cosmos functions. That's a thoroughly mystical endeavor. I mean, that's what occultists are trying to do, but just in a different way, from a different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're really you're working on a book at the moment about the relationship between history of science and the occult. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I'm it's taken a long time. It's still in the works, but yeah, it's just kind of looking at the background of these figures and kind of seeing how, as you said, they seem to be a symbol of scientific materialism. Actually, when you look at their lives much more closely, a lot of them were highly spiritual individuals. And yeah, I even go into like the Victorian era and how much interest there was in animal magnetism, hypnosis, mesmerism, and how this kind of boundary between science and mysticism has never really been that clear cut. Cool.
Yeah, I remember from was it the Psychic Society in England? What was that famous doctor in Deborah, the one that Dr. King always mentioned as well? And name escapes me, but there's a lot of it in the society, in the teachings. There's a great quote: "Science without um, what's the quote, Deborah? Science without love is the soulless wanderer of the night."
Pretty close. So that would be a Jack state on it. But yes, it's
Wow.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
science without religion is the soulless wanderer of the night.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah, that is so true because you kind of can't have one without the other. It's two. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really a recent thing that science has kind of got the upper hand. I guess it
Yeah.
swings through the ages, doesn't it? With the dark ages, and then the materialist, it kind of compensates and comes back, and now we take it as read that science, these people have, well, they're scientism, isn't it? The religion of science.
Yeah.
Has now got the upper hand.
Yes. Yeah. And I suppose part of that is that science is able to prove its own successes very visibly, with kind of technological advancement. When you see a television or a tablet or a computer, it's kind of, you can see its success. But that's the neglect of all the important stuff that you can't see as well, or only certain people can see. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, you get the science you deserve.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we're very limited and materialistic, and we're stuck with what can people buy into the easy stuff.
Yes.
Mm.
Exactly. Yeah. It's no coincidence that the more materialistic our society has come, the more consumer capitalism has come to dominate our society. Materialistic science has become as well. Yeah.
But people are pretty shocked by these UFO, the American government coming out and admitting they've got bodies and craft, and
Yeah. Yeah. That's been a massive revelation. I'm hoping that is going to kind of completely change people's thinking. Particularly when it's coming from those at the top, like the highest of the highest.
Because we're the oldest. The Aetherius Society is the oldest international UFO organization, and founded in the 1950s. And Dr. King, who was a master of yoga, he did yoga for advanced yoga practices for 10 years. So it's got all that heritage as well. And so he became, deeply psychic, and he could contact them, because now they're all obsessed with the craft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's worrying about what the message is, or it's like, I heard a good quote recently from Richard Lawrence, the president of the society. He said it's like going the Bhagavad Gita and just worrying about what kind of chariot Krishna drove. It's really reductionist.
Mm.
So,
Yes. Yeah. Because we don't know how these extraterrestrial intelligences really operate or how they manifest. And it may be the fact that those crafts are just an external manifestation of a life form which just exists as pure consciousness. Do you know what I mean? They might not even have physical bodies in the way that we do. Do you know what I mean? That's
yeah, you talk a lot about in your writing as well about the parallel universes, and life existing at different frequencies, and that's the way we understand it in the society, that if you go to Mars now, it looks like a barren wasteland, but if you just up your vibration, go to a higher realm, in higher frequency, it's a paradise, a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Fully populated, and we're just at this low vibration, because if we believe that consciousness exists at every frequency of the electromagnetic spectrum, so when you die, you go to a different frequency, which is another realm on this earth, which is still very much below the frequency of life on other planets, because there are so many frequencies. It's like a radio,
Yeah.
Does that tie in with what you've come to understand? Or?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I mean, I've come to the conclusion that a lot of people have come to, which is that the brain and body is a paramagnetic organism, which it doesn't generate consciousness. It is a receiver of consciousness, and consciousness is the primary or essential reality. Even though your perception changes, the one thing that remains constant is consciousness, or what Hindus will call the Atman, or the true self. And the more you expand the boundaries of your perception, the more your reality is expanded. Even certain animals have access to different frequencies that we don't even have. So dogs can hear sounds that we can't hear, bees, see the world on the UV spectrum. We can't do that. So there are entire planes of existence outside the ordinary boundaries of perception. And I completely agree with you. I think yeah, you're right. These planets could be populated with life, but we are just too spiritually blind to see that at the moment. But I think as we spiritually evolve and our minds do awaken, I think we'll eventually have access to that, but it's just a case of ascending to that wing evolution.
Yeah. Ascension, yeah.
Yes.
Bring it on, yeah.
Yeah, bring it on.
That ties in really well to what Deborah's research. She always tries to focus. We could have a long rambling conversation, but it's really nice if we focus in on one thing.
Yeah.
And she was really drawn to your article about reality tunnels, how to control and reprogram your mind, which you put so much work into. And I've heard it from one of my occult teachers. He said that consciousness is as we exist in a sea of mind. Consciousness is mind slowed down through the chakras, so that we are experiencing things at our speed, because this is all we can cope with. And there's a lot in the teaching. You picked out some lectures, didn't you, Deborah, about the mind, man's mind, the lecture.
The master did a brilliant lecture called Man's Mind, where he really lays it out very clearly what this biological robot body is. So as you just said, Jack, it's a receiving, but it's also a transmitter. So we've got this receiver transmitter, and the more pure we can make that. So it's like, if you're going to put it like a radio, the more that you can fine tune the little knob, the more that you're going to be able to bring in, and then and to go to different parts. And why I love the teaching so much for me is that the master, Dr. King, is very straightforward. There's nothing fancy, but he really does, just, as I say, lay it bare for us. And when I read your article on the reality tunnels, I thought, oh, gracious me, this, because it made sense to me. I'm not a highly educated woman, so things have to be really clear and be able to resonate with me before I can get it. And I just read a few, and I thought, no, I get this. This is so true. Like, when you hear truth and it there's something that sort of happens with, well, this receiving set went sort of, oh yeah, that's yeah. It's fabulous. So yeah, that lecture, Man's Mind, is one of my well, there's many favourites, but that's certainly in the top 5 or 6 from the 600, 1,000, however many he did.
Yeah.
You mentioned Robert Anton Wilson a lot in your writing as well, and he's a great philosopher now. He has some really deep insights.
Yeah, he really influenced me when I was a teenager. I remember reading his book Prometheus Rising, and just being absolutely blown away, realizing that there are so many different worldviews that you can adopt, and reality is more of a projection of your perception, and that if you change your belief system, then your reality will change to fit that. And that's kind of the basic premise of magic as well, which is that, if you change the mind, then your reality will change as well. And I think we all experience that on a daily basis, because when you wake up and you're feeling really good about yourself, you're feeling really positive, it's like positive things just happen around you. Do you know what I mean? It's like everybody you come into contact with is smiling and laughing, they're nice to you. You suddenly find out that you've got the job that you always wanted. It's like you become a magnet for that energy that you're putting out there, which, as you said, you're not just a receiver, but you're, it's a symbiotic process of giving and receiving. And the same when you're feeling really bad, negative things will just happen around you as well. So yeah, I think if people start to realize that they can take a more active role in shaping the world around, they will realize how powerful their minds really are. Yeah.
Thought forms and things like that. Have you read Alice Bailey or any of the Theosophists?
I haven't read. I really want to read more of Alice Bailey's work because I'm a massive fan of Madame Blavatsky's work, and I know that she could kind of took the baton from Blavatsky and expanded on her works. What's her kind of basic sort of
She
philosophy?
had a book on thought forms about how, you know, you manifest things and you walk around as, you know, in a soup of your own thoughts, and things actually manifest physically on other realms when you put enough energy into them. You know, thoughts of things. That's a good way to sum it up.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think we don't quite realize how powerful our minds are, and how, you're right, we could even be influencing realities and dimensions beyond what we can actually see. So we have to be very careful with our thoughts and our intentions and our emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a magical practice, the one you called, what was it, the hands? What's it called, Deborah? The
Magnetic hand.
Magnetic.
Yeah. Do you want me to go through that?
Please do.
Well, it's a really easy tool to use. That if you get a wrong thought drop into your head, and we all get them, you could even see it as an image. As soon as you realize it, then you imagine a magnetic hand coming out from your solar plexus, so from your battery, and you grab it and you bring it back in, and you dissolve it either in the violet flame, which is the energy from the earth. So you bring up the earth energy and you dissolve it back into your body, or you bring down from the ethers a white light. So in other words, so to dissolve what you've actually formed. So you don't lose the energy from your body. You reabsorb that energy because that's not what you want to be creating. And if you leave it out there, it doesn't go away. It just doesn't, it's out there all the time, and it attracts similar thoughts to it. So you become a big gang of that thought that just dropped into your head. If you go into an area that thinks things that you like you just dropped, that you're going to get that magnet of thoughts is going to grow even bigger and faster and become stronger, grow muscles. So it's really, really wise, as you've just said, to be aware and thought yourself, clean your cupboard before you make a mistake, say sorry. Send a thought that's wrong, bring it back. Because we're boomerangs. We're boomerangs. You bring it back on you, around you, and bring the vibration of the whole collective down just that little bit. And equally, if you send good thoughts out there, good energy out there, you bring that band of energy up just that little bit. And if we all did just that little bit all the time, wouldn't be very long before we had a better world. Wouldn't even recognize the place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the magnetic hand.
You just reminded me, Deborah, about going back to the UFOs, that they just project. They can go anywhere, anywhere, anytime. They just project. Not astral projection, but full projection to another world in seconds, because the speed of mind is 4 million times the speed of light. But to take anything, they have to manifest a vehicle and then take it, and then they can take it out of manifestation. I think that's from the Lords of Saturn, though. Is that right?
When the Lords of Saturn put together the spacecraft, the satellite that brought the intelligence of Jesus here, and they thought it into action, they sent it here, did the deeds, did the magical deeds, the manipulations needed to bring that high intelligence into the human physical body. And then they took it back into their bodies again. That the spaceship dusted.
You often see I've noticed it many times in all these, when a great saint is born or a great sage is born, there were 5 stars with Buddha and something like that, and Vivekananda as well. And it's a theme because they are all incarnating in human form to take on karma and act out a life here.
But it's a lot of manipulation to actually get like that higher vibratory intelligence into a gross material body. Whole load of manipulation needed so this body could contain it.
You have to work on the parents of the parents.
Right. So it answered your question, yes. But the Saturnian masters just create a spacecraft.
Madame Blavatsky too. She materialized the teacup, which is still in existence after her death.
Yeah, and pencils. Didn't Madame Blavatsky do was it like a party trick? She was be able to generate different, one pencil here and then 7 pencils or something like that. Yeah, it seems like crazy stuff, doesn't it? But that's how powerful we can create things. But we don't, as you just said, Jack, we don't see what we create because we're too dense in our 5 senses. We're too interested in what we wear, what people think about us, and too interested in the gross materialism of the world to actually expand and see what's really going on.
Yeah. And when any phenomena appears to break the scientific laws that we've put our faith in, then we just dismiss it, even though that might show that our scientific laws aren't fully adequate in explaining what is going on in our universe. So kind of rather than examining ourselves and the fallacies of scientific materialism, we just dismiss anything that is outside that paradigm. And it's interesting you said about these extraterrestrial beings being able to move from any point in space-time just through thought alone, because I've often thought, and I'm going to annoy a lot of scientists here, Einstein posited that light was the fastest, had the fastest speed in the known universe. Nothing could break that speed. But I've always thought, well, consciousness perceives light. And so surely you're perceiving light before it takes on a visible form. Does that make sense? So surely consciousness is actually the fastest thing in the universe. Surely that is the kind of, so yeah, you're right. I think these beings exist as pure consciousness, pure thought, and therefore seem to violate the laws of physics that we hold so dearly. Because I've had quite a few UFO experiences while living in Cornwall, and the crafts I've personally seen, they not only move at incredible speeds, I mean superhuman speeds, but they just move. They go off on these they just shoot off, kind of so tangentially. I mean, it's just incredible. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, they must exist on a much higher plane of existence.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about the teachings is that because there's one. All the great religions agree there's one God, one intelligence, one cosmic, one. We're all one. Yeah, but then it's the stages between. So you go through enlightenment, then cosmic consciousness, then ascension, then you can leave this planet, you incarnate on other planets, you go there, you're still physical, you're a being, you're still physical, but you're a much higher vibration. And consciousness merges eventually. We merge together and eventually form a planet, which is so the most evolved being you've ever physically touched is the earth beneath your feet. It's a goddess, it's a living being, which will eventually go on to form a sun. The galaxy is a living being. So if you're looking for the most evolved being you can see, it's the Milky Way.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like, it's still physical, but it breathes, it's alive. It's Jehovah. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, science and philosophy has never really been able to answer that question of consciousness and how does inanimate matter become consciousness? How do the atoms and electrons that make up how does consciousness as a phenomenon suddenly emerge from those inanimate particles?
Mm.
And it seems to me that you can only really resolve that philosophical paradox if you adopt a panpsychic approach, the one you've just suggested, which is to see every frequency of reality, even going down to the subatomic level, as living and breathing.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's not that consciousness just suddenly emerges.
Mm.
It's that consciousness is a stream, and our brain has a much larger conduit for it, but consciousness is permeating everything.
That's so
And
much more logical. Yeah.
yeah, it's so much more logical. And as you say, you can even planets and stars are living, breathing organisms to some extent. Yeah, you have to shift your consciousness to see it. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's. What do you think, Deborah?
Well, I want to go back 2 steps. I mean, I'm agreeing with everything. When you were saying you'd seen UFOs and they had, and the way that they were moving, I'd actually written this down this morning, picked up some of the teachings, and it said, UFOs, alien craft, extreme speeds, impossible changes in direction, blinking in and out like lights switching on and off. And that's how you tell if something's real or not, if it is an alien craft, because in what we know, things don't behave like that, and these crafts do. And when you said that, I thought, just written that this morning. Just before I went all night funny with my desk, I'm sure I just wrote that down this morning. And yeah, exactly so. So if you needed any confirmation, if you want to, or me to line up with our teachers agree with what you see, well, our teachers agree with what you saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. Do you have psychic powers as well, or are you just interested on a pure logical way like me?
Psychic powers.
I guess we're all in our way. We're all in some way clear something.
Yeah, I mean, I've had many dreams in my life that eventually happened. So yeah, dreams have always provided me with an insight into the future. As far as I'm aware, I don't possess any kind of telepathic or telekinetic abilities. But yeah, definitely in terms of dreams and clairvoyance. Uh, but yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it? Because of course, even having a UFO sighting, to what extent could that be described as a parapsychological ability? Because I have friends, for example, who are very close-minded. I mean, they just dismiss the phenomena of UFOs outrightly, but they can't see them. It's almost like they don't have access to that reality. It is really strange.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, even if they were there, would they be able to see them? Or yeah, but it's a journey. I think it's a long journey, and I think
what got you into it in the first place, the occult and the...
Yeah, I was really into the occult and magic when I was a teenager. I became really interested in the works of Aleister Crowley and Israel Regardie. I moved away from that when I got into my early 20s. I just adopted a more holistic approach to spirituality, rather than a very systematic approach. But yeah, ever since I've been on this journey, I've learned so much, and I think we're all acquiring new psychic skills and ability every single day of our lives, really.
Well, it's Madame Blavatsky, going back to her, she said that it was the ring past knot, came down after Lemuria and after Atlantis, and we've got slowly less energy from the sun, and so we have less abilities. So we all, in previous incarnations, were much more, we could do this without Zoom.
Yes, yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, that kind of the metaphysical explanation for it is, that we've gone down a class, down a grade every year after every time after we probe the atom in previous incarnations, and now we've evolved, and now we're coming back up, working our way back up through the classrooms.
Yes. Yeah, because when you look at these ancient civilizations, particularly in Egypt, where ancient Babylon, Sumeria was, you see, anyone who's seen those structures up close realizes that there was a golden age in human history. There was. Those architectural structures have never been replicated since.
Hunter-gatherers built them, though.
What's that?
Hunter-gatherers were...
Yeah, exactly. Hunter-gatherers were supposedly just holding spears in their hand and, just chasing buffalo. Apparently built these mega structures in perfect astronomical alignment as well. So yeah, it seems like during those periods, science and spirituality were fundamentally intertwined, and they treated the earth as an energetic grid. Those monuments were like an acupuncture of the earth. And since, as you say, the sinking of Atlantis, the decline of these civilizations, possibly through some sort of global cataclysm, it's been a process of decline. But I think we are at this crossroads where we're making our way back again. I think this is a return. It's a pilgrimage. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's what do they say in the teachings, Deborah? That the earth can spin on its axis and do a reset. So the seas will be 4 miles high, and there's a rumbling. It takes about 13 minutes or something like that, and everything's reset.
That's happened before. it will happen again. But if we can actually use the universal life force energies correctly, we can slow down that process, work in conjunction with the Mother Earth. So it doesn't have to be such an evil. So that gives more people chance to start to wake up, to get it. And then the more people we get on board that have got it, the more people then start to use it. And then so it smooths the curve. We don't have to go, whoops a daisy, oh look, we're all dead. No, we don't have to do that. As I say, if we keep sending out, doing the right things, the people that know and practice what they know, it will actually change everything. As I say, every thought just by little bits. And everything's made, as you just said, Jack, of little bits. You know, they don't come as big bits. Nothing comes as a big bit. It's just loads of little bits put together in different ways. We just got to make sure that the way we put things together, the thoughts that we put together are harmonious, that they are of a oneness. It's not us and them, that there are more important things than the type of trainers that you put on your feet, far more important things. And everybody, we shouldn't be in a society where people are hungry or people are warring and other people have got so much wealth they don't know what to spend it on next. So that's not right. And not even in sort of like, oh, that's not right, old grandma sitting here. It's just not, it's just crazy stuff. So, if we can slow it down, the more we can slow it down, the more we can make the curve, flatten the curve. The more we can flatten the curve, the better it is going to be for everybody and everything, every living thing on this planet. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, Madame Blavatsky, she worked with the Ascended Masters. And, gods to us, I mean, like, I don't know how many there are, a couple of hundred who've gone through the initiation of Ascension.
Yeah.
And who've decided to stick around and not gone on to other classrooms. But then Dr. King, he was a medium for cosmic masters, so even greater masters, and he came through with the 9 freedoms and the 12 blessings, which was through the Master Jesus, and they gave us an insight into what happens after Ascension. So that's the Buddhists think you go on. You go to nirvana afterwards, but it's still, you've got millions of incarnations still to go and a lot of homework.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think there's a misunderstanding about, religions like Christianity or Buddhism, which is that you are trying to transcend this world and not come back to it. But when you look at the bodhisattvas, they have transcended the material realm. They have entered a much more spiritual reality. But then they have realized that it is their moral duty to return to Earth with the message and spread it. The message isn't leave people behind, just transcend this world and leave everyone else behind. The message is to connect with that divine source, but then return back to Earth and spread it.
Oh, you hit the money there, didn't you, Deborah? That's great, because a lot of these, even the ancient teachings can seem a bit selfish. You go into a cave, you experience bliss and extremely ecstatic states, and you ascend and you can be a much more greater service. But there's a little bit of selfishness, subtle selfishness in there to get a little carrot to get people into the cave, and also a lot of the New Age is the same thing. You control your mind. Your purpose in life is if you can just control your mind and your grasshopper thoughts, go to meditation retreat. That's your objective. Peace of mind, But it's really service is the message from the cosmic masters. We're in the, we're here. You've got to serve, because that's all you're going to be ever doing. The sun serves 24/7. Everything is service. You just go on to be able to be of greater service. So yeah, you really hit that. There's a story of the two Buddhas in there, Deborah, as well. The Buddha who goes away is the Buddha who stays to serve is by far the greater Buddha. There's a lot in that. Service is the jewel in the rock of attainment.
Yeah, we're told, Jack, that in the ancient teachings that you transmigrated. So you, as you just said,
Which
you
is
left
good.
it on way. You left everybody. They can get on with it. They've got their own path to lead. Sure, I've done mine. Yeah, and off you go. But we're actually told that that's not the full story. We're meant to transmute. So everything we've created, we have to bring back into our, but like to balance it up.
Yeah.
You can't leave any of it behind. So basically, when the Earth does her ascension, don't leave any bits of it behind. It all has to be, but the vibrations the whole has to be raised. So you transmute all matter, not leave all that for somebody else to sweep up afterwards. No. And that, to me, I was really, when I got it in here, I thought, well, of course not. It's like I tell my kid, when I tell my kids, you could clean your room up. Otherwise, your mum has to go in and clean it up afterwards. And mum does go in and clean it up afterwards until they get to until you actually get it through the children's mind that if they get something out, they have to put it back, because that's the balance. So yeah, we have to come back. If we make ascension, best thing you can do is come back and tell somebody else how you did it. Show them until they do it, and then they come back. It's like the game of sardines, isn't it? You all have to find the right place, and then you all go together. Don't leave any man behind. Makes perfect sense to me.
The galaxy can't go back to God until every atom, every being has been raised up to a certain level.
Yeah, but how can you go back to source if you've still got stuff unfinished? You can't, can you? Can't go back to unmanifested if you've still got stuff in manifestation.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I like that way of looking at it, actually. Transmutation. What was the other word you used? Transmigration. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all thought transmigration is that I'm okay, Jack. I'm off. Sorry, Jacks. I'm okay, Jacks. I'm off. As opposed to, no, you clear up your mess and help everybody else to do the same.
Yeah.
I'll read the quote here. This is the secret of creation. This is the secret of preservation. It is the secret of transmutation. It is the sacred word, AUM. And then Dr. King says, of all the great truths revealed in the 9 freedoms, this is one of the most staggering to the advanced occultist, for it puts a new light upon the ancient wisdom. There are many advanced minds who would not have believed such a feat possible.
Yeah. Exactly. And that is the message behind most mystical systems. If you look at alchemy, the discovery of the philosopher's stone, that's not just talking about a literal transformation of base metals to gold. Those base metals are representative of matter, the material world, and the transmutation of matter into spirit. You need matter for spirit, you need spirit for matter, and it's just about elevating the material world to a much higher place. Yeah.
And mind is stuff.
Yeah,
so as you elevate your mind stuff, you then see more. You're clairvoyant, yeah. That was a big one for me as well, that mind was matter. Before that, it never even occurred to me that, it would be like physical. And yet it is, because we're told you get to a certain stage and it's beyond mind. When you get to supreme laws of creation, they're above mind. So, because they made mind.
Yeah. That's one of the stuff is you have to be above what you can create. You have to be greater than that which you create.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, fabulous stuff. Fascinating, fabulous, and quite hard to live. You know it in theory, but the amount of time I'll have to use that mental hand is embarrassing, really.
Cussing up at everyone. But that goes back into the reality tunnels about how to control and reprogram your mind, which was the article that originally drew us to you. And
yeah,
we are seeing the reality. You see the reality that you, at your speed, no? And so once you've seen something, you can't unsee it. Like people can walk down the street and, once you've raised your consciousness and you see different things that you never noticed before.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think people realize how narrow their bandwidth of perception is a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? Because particularly when consumer capitalism appeals to our most basic drives, I mean, not to generalize, but a lot of people go around and all their thinking is, oh, I'm hungry now. I need something. Oh, I'm thirsty. Oh, look at that girl. She's good looking. That is just 0.001% of the world around you. I even find it staggering how much of people's conversation is just gossip. All we talk about is human beings, us, and they don't ever think outside of themselves. It's quite rare to have a conversation like this where we're discussing very, very meaningful ideas beyond the humdrum of everyday life. Because, so many people are just caught in that tiny little fraction of what life really is. Yeah.
So good to exchange ideas like this. Like, I remember that quote you said about Robert Anton Wilson. He said something like, if once you believe in something, it's very bad because you immediately stop believing in other things. Was that the right quote?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you put all of your faith in one belief system, you're cancelling all other belief systems out. Even though you might find something useful or inspirational to draw from them. The truth isn't just one. It is not just, it has to come from so many areas, doesn't it? Yeah.
And we're piped with these untruths, and I mean, even the UFO field, for example, like, so I've got the truths from this society. I don't need any more, but then there's always two poles to truth. And I was listening to Dr. Stephen Greer, and so all these ufologists, they have a specialty, someone's interviewing abductees, someone's interviewing, you've talked about sightings. That's a big thing. Also, he interviews the people who in the secret space program, and he's very clear that he has a lot of testimony from people that a lot of the UFOs you see are from retrofitted, are from men, in America mostly, who've built their own UFOs. So maybe a lot of these UFO sightings, just because in my experience, I believe in the UFOs. Maybe not everything I'm seeing is a UFO. Maybe there are also because what I was going to say was that maybe the reason that all this UFO stuff is coming out is that there's going to be a black flag operation or something, that they have this technology now, and there's always these reasons for these things. If something's on CNN, it's not in our best interests.
Yes.
It's serving someone else's interests. So maybe there's something in that, but like, I don't know, but I'm really open to everything, and then I'll use my discernment and try and maybe this is true, maybe that's true, maybe they're both true. Maybe that's the the truth has two poles.
Yeah, and I think it's really sad to see how divided the ufology community has
Yeah.
become in recent decades. It's really sad to see that, because everyone's interested in the phenomenon, everyone wants to know the truth, but everyone's kind of divided into these two camps, as you said. It's like, some people think that there are extraterrestrials and extraterrestrial entities out there. They want to help us. They are doing it for the good of humanity. And then other people just fall into this category of thinking that it's a psychological operation. It's the government preparing a false flag attack. But as you say, it can be both.
Yeah.
I'm sure if that technology exists, the government will be the first ones to exploit it. But that does not mean that there are not otherworldly intelligence.
I was reading another thing for just another video from the Leak Project, I think it was, that said that Aleister Crowley had done these ceremonies and opened up places, links between the other realms. Like there's that place, what's that farm with all the animals cut up? The Netflix documentary about. There's the Greys could come through for a mother, because I don't know any of this. Only know what from the teachings, but which was obviously true, but maybe there are other truths, because the universe is so full of people. It's like, but yeah, got a bit off track there. I'm supposed to be talking about the society's teaching, but
Well, for me, just I know that we're coming to the end of this, but for me, if somebody says something to me which is an us and them, they're better than this, or and comparing in a negative manner, I disregard it. If somebody comes with an open mind that we're all in this together and we're going to find a way through, look for the similarities and not the differences, I'm in that. I'm in for it, because that I am very much of the case of it. We are one. It is
like
a
Blavatsky fits perfectly with the teachings of Dr. King.
We have to move forward as one, and we have to listen to other people's points of view, and from their perspective, it may be their truth, and that's okay too, and I can accept that, but not as a you're wrong and I'm right, because I can't see that as ever being. We're not going to get anywhere.
No.
We've done that for too long.
They want to divide us. They want it to put the silence group, and want to keep us in our ignorance. Yeah. Thank God your book's coming out soon, Jack. How many? How long? How close to completion?
It might be a little while yet. Just because I've been doing my doctorate recently, so it's I haven't had much time to write for pleasure. I'm guessing maybe 7 to 8 months.
Okay. Where can people find you then? Where should people follow you?
They can find me on Twitter. If they just type
tweeted for 2 years.
Yeah. I'm used to it for a while, but they can see my writings on there, stuff I've done.
You still write for New Dawn? You still
Yeah, still writing for New Dawn. I just wrote an article on the works of Jean Baudrillard and Guy Debord on the Society of the Spectacle. And yeah, they can find my works in Nexus, Philosophy Now. You can check me out on Instagram, although I don't use it.
keep an eye out for the book. Yeah. Well, when the book comes out, please come back on and we'll promote it and delve deep into it.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat. It was really a great conversation.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.